Now, in bringing our first guest, we are talking to Attorney Dan Gatmaytan, a constitutional law professor at the University of the Philippines. Good afternoon, Attorney. Thanks for joining us on Storycon.
Good afternoon, Attorney.
Good afternoon, Attorney.
Attorney, I'm sorry. Good afternoon sa lahat. I'm not used to
Meron ka din ba,
addressing me as attorney.
meron ka din ba, Prof, na high moral standards, ethical standards?
Strictest ethical standards.
Strictest ethical standards, katulad ni ex-human rights lawyer Harry Roque.
I think siya na yung highest.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
kasama ni Professor yan sa UP College of Law dati.
Hindi naman perfect si Professor.
Okay, ano po? You go, I go.
Okay, go.
Prof, kito po. I'll toss you a question that Reg tossed Domingo Cayosa yesterday. Kasi now you have tapos you have pushback from legal luminaries, including former Supreme Court justices, including the former Supreme Court Chief Justice, dun sa Supreme Court impeachment decision. Ang question nga kahapon was in the end kasi you're looking at a unanimous decision by the Supreme Court, presumably the highest legal luminaries of the land. Parang mas understandable pa sana kung alam mo yung medyo makitid yung margin ng vote na 6 versus 7 ganun, pero ito completely 13-0 eh. And now we have a pushback from other luminaries. So parang we're trying to figure out how this happened eh. I mean, how do you explain that, di ba?
Prof, dati kasi, yung mga former Chief Justices, former Justices of the Supreme Court, medyo restrained sila eh. Na mag-criticize doon sa kanilang pinanggalingan. Ngayon, parang nasa frontline sila eh, in terms of criticizing the Supreme Court. Eh. So, parang ang tanong siguro ni Ed, what's happening? At saan papunta ito?
Parang is it such an astounding decision na they're weighing in bigla, even their former colleagues, and tapos unanimous pa yung vote?
Yes, I think so. No, I think it's proof, no, that the case has very, very serious consequences for our system of government, no, yung impeachment system, etc. So I agree na hindi lang merong comment ang former justices, former Chief Justice, institutional yung responses for one, at saka medyo harsh. Di ba? Unlike before na medyo mayroong respect
Couching
out
very
of
diplomatic terms.
Pero lagi namang may lagi namang respectfully.
Respectfully.
Oh, hindi katulad namin. Hindi kami respectfully eh.
Kaya kayo na masa-cite for contempt.
Si Richard lang. Oh.
Pero sir,
yes, seryoso talaga to. Seryoso talaga to.
Opo, pero how could that have happened na ito si unanimous, hindi man lang yung very small margin na pinagdebatehan talaga. Nagkasundo talaga sila.
So, how is it possible that we're basically asking those on the other side, those who are saying that it's the wrong decision, we're asking them, how is it possible that 13 Supreme Court judges could get it wrong?
Well, you get it wrong if in this case, some people are pointing out may mali sa facts. Mali doon sa pag-assess nila ng calendar ng Congress. So that alone could explain why they decided to form a majority, a unanimous one, as you put it. So but if you point out the factual error doon sa kanilang decision, we don't know. Diba? They might actually say, it looks like we made a mistake. And it doesn't matter anymore kung unanimous yung decision or not. It looks like there's a reason to reconsider their decision.
Pero sir, hindi ba mas nakakatakot yun if 13 justices got their facts wrong?
Yes. But the fact, kung ganun talaga yung nangyari, di ba? Kasi yung ruling nila is based on yung facts. Mas masama pag mali yung kanilang legal interpretation, di ba? So parang may way out nga you know? Even if sinasabi namin, pati ako sinasabi ko parang mali yung decision niyo on many counts. Pag i-focus mo sa facts, it might give them a way out or a reason to reverse ang kanilang decision. Hindi nila kasalanan. Dahil nagkamali lang, it happens to everyone. Sabihin na natin ganun.
Pero Prof, in a universe of of infinite possibilities, may possibility ba na i-reverse nila yung kanilang sarili? O kahit hindi na possibility, is that probable na itong 13 i-reverse nila yung sarili nila? Kahit presuming na merong factual errors.
Okay, kung the probability very slim kasi ang consideration dito, I think pride, both institutional pride, yung Supreme Court mo nagkamali, di ba? Or pati yung pride ng individual justices to be informed, to be told na one, your facts are wrong, two, your interpretation of the Constitution is wrong. So baka mag-dig in, no? Kasi it might be costlier for them.
Dahil
wrong.
ang alam ko kasi, Professor, even if the Supreme Court makes a mistake, their mistake becomes law. Their error becomes true. Law.
Yun ba? Kaya i-criticize yan kahit mali sila, pero everyone knows in the end, we have to follow the law. But, kung yung factual basis ng decision yung mistake, they might want to take a second look at their ruling.
Prof, what about the Supreme Court decision bothered you the most? Because, for instance, we were talking about former Supreme Court justices speaking out, and who we're referring to is the Justice Adolf Esuna, who was also one of the framers of the Constitution, and he pointed to a few things that the underlying issues, conflict of interest, for instance, because they themselves are impeachable officials, accountability, the fact that in the 1987 Constitution, they deliberately made it easier to hold officials accountable, right, by lowering the ratio for the votes for the both houses of Congress, and then meron din issue around due process. Justice Esuna was saying that due process does not apply. There's no constitutional basis for enforcing due process throughout all the phases of impeachment. Out of all these things, what about it? What about the Supreme Court decision bothers you the most?
Dagdag lang sa tanong ni Reg, Prof. Sabi kasi, yung usually reticent Justice Esuna, ang sinabi niya, the Supreme Court decision didn't just amend the Constitution, it derailed the Constitution. Kanya na, very, very sharp yung kanyang banat, no? For a former Justice of the Supreme Court na usually ay subdued. No?
I think the commentators are almost in complete agreement. Like, for example, yung concept ng effective dismissal ng impeachment complaints na hindi naman na-initiate to begin with. Diba? Following yung earlier Supreme Court decisions sa Francisco, sa Gutierrez, hindi yan initiate and yet somehow na-dismiss. So that's unusual. Yung due process, I agree with Justice Esuna, ang daming layers na nilagay yung Supreme Court, none of which are actually can be found in the Constitution. Sabi silang, if you're impeaching a justice, it has to do with their independence daw. I don't know where that came from. Yeah? So, yung dalawang main issue na yon plus other things like yung insinuations nila na political yung agenda ng House. I don't know why you have to assume or say that this is all about political vendetta wala namang basis for saying that. Diba? Hindi lang to, they didn't just change the Constitution. They said, do it the right way, don't do it for politics. Kung ako yung House, ilang beses na ako na-insulto ng Supreme Court eh. Meron pa. Gusto nyo pa? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go on.
More. More.
I need Justice Esuna na, okay, let's assume you change the rules. Sabihin natin, there's never been a case like this. There's never been a case like this before na hindi ni-refer yung impeachment complaint sa committee, di ba? Sa Justice Committee. Sabihin ng Supreme Court, well, so because this is the first time, we are making a new rule. Okay, fine. Pero pag new rule yan, then why apply it to a present case? Diba na gumugulong na? In other words, the House acted in good faith. dahil sinusundan nila yung mga previous Supreme Court decisions. Sabi ng Supreme Court, new rule because new set of facts. And then apply it. Normally, they would apply it to the future cases.
Sir, I'm sure you remember yung in the last 2 decades ago, there was one lawyer who was famous for being a serial filer of impeachment complaints to supposedly or apparently to immunize the incumbent from more serious impeachment complaints. So with that in mind, I'm wondering lang, if this one stands, if the decision stands and hindi na bago yan, hindi na amend yan, what's the effect on future impeachment cases filings? Kailan bale, if you look at how it's written right now, kailan magsisimula ang 1-year bar? Is it when somebody files an impeachment complaint and it's not acted upon?
Lalo na yung sinabi nila tungkol sa mga constitutional bodies. Talagang hinigpitan. No? So will impeachment be possible in the future because of these changes, Prof? Medyo matindi yung pagbabago,
Baka nga dalawang rules ngayon, no? Sabihin nila pag I'll admit medyo confused din ako. But they might be implying or saying na hindi naman nila in-overturn yung Francisco eh. So in cases, 'di ba? So in cases where mayroong mga private citizens na nag-file, tapos ni-refer sa committee, then na-initiate na yun.
Yes, sir.
They can actually say that's still the rule. Except that sabi nila, in cases naman, where nag-adjourn yung Congress without any action, that also triggers the 1-year ban.
Yes,
so
sir.
hindi ko rin alam.
That's the portion where, and I'm quoting from the decision, I think this is the relevant portion. The 1-year ban should be reckoned from the initiation of the impeachment complaint if unacted upon or when it is dismissed if it has been partially acted upon. So does that mean na, pwede mag-unahan na lang ng filing ng impeachment complaint? Kung hindi inaktuhan yung first impeachment complaint na na-file, yun na yung simula ng 1-year bar.
Yes, that's a possibility. So, yung dating practice ng filing of the defective impeachment complaints, maaaring mangyari naman makita na naman natin yung search ng ganitong klaseng kaso.
Yung immunizing the incumbent.
Yes. Triggering the 1-year ban, di ba? Yan. So, pwede mangyari yan.
Okay.
You said at the start, Prof, that you were worried that this might have serious consequences for the system of government. What kind of consequences are you talking about?
Kasi impeachment is part of checks and balances. No? It's a way of addressing abuses of power by certain government officials. Parang if all the commentaries are correct, then if the Supreme Court derailed the Constitution, as you said, if they had actually made it impossible to file impeachment cases in the future, then that's a serious consequence, no? Because we have removed one of the most effective ways dapat of making these officials accountable for their actions. Ngayon hindi na alam ng mga tao kung magagawa nila, no? Just just addressing all the new requirements. And again, these requirements seem to have no constitutional anchor. Parang nakaka-discourage.
Tapos sir, I'm a bit confused kasi ang desisyon ng Senado magbubutuhan sila sa August 6 dito sa desisyon ng Korte Suprema. So kung ganun, I suppose the presumption is that the Senate is going to decide whether or not to obey the Supreme Court. Kasi hindi going to vote in it
But technically, hindi pa tapos yung case, di ba? Kasi magpa-file ng motion for reconsideration. So merong leeway, di ba? There's some space to suggest that the trial should proceed. Except that and they don't have the votes, I think. Hindi pa legal yung issue dyan legally, can they do it? Yes, because the case has not been decided with finality.
Penalty. Mhm.
So, pwede pa. But on the other hand, I'm not even sure they have enough votes to begin the trial.
Yeah, there's also that.
That's the other thing. So what's the recourse for ordinary citizens now? Because if as you say, suddenly there's all these processes and rules around impeaching public officials, which of course is the highest penalty for a sitting official if they've abused their position. What can people do? What's the recourse at this point?
Well, the other remedies are being pursued. No? Kaya nga may motion for reconsideration. I think for many of those who want to intervene, it is right na unlikely na ma-reverse. It is for the record that we are objecting to the interpretation ng Supreme Court. Now, failing that, technically, there's always impeachment ng justices. Sorry. Kaya lang,
Maraming sir.
impeach mo yung let's say ma-impeach mo yung 13, you have to. You cannot just pick the ponente kasi hindi naman yan decision ni Justice Leonan
Yeah.
That is a decision of the entire court. Pag na-impeach mo sila, sinong magta-try sa kanila? Yung Senate. The Senate is so grateful for what the Supreme Court did.
Yeah.
Because they removed this burden of dismissing the case, di ba? From the Senate, and the Supreme Court did it for them. So, again, kahit na may legal remedy tayo, and the remedy is impeachment, it is unlikely that they will be removed or be found guilty by the Senate, assuming a trial is held. Magkakaroon pa yun ng complication kasi if you impeach the justices, tapos may constitutional question, sino magde-decide?
Pero di ba, kung sakaling ma-impeach, mag-a-appoint ang presidente ng mga bago?
No, because the impeachment, hindi pa siya na-remove.
Hindi. Kung halimbawa, theoretically, makonvict sila sa Senate, then the president can appoint a new set of justices.
Yes.
Pwede kasi yung impeachment can just be symbolic. Para lang ipakita sa Supreme Court na hindi kayo untouchable.
Kaya men.
Exactly. Yung political statement, no? Pwedeng statement yan na we disagree with what you said to the point na impeach namin kayo. So legally that can be done.
Mas less of a constitutional crisis kasi yung impeachment kesa dun sa hindi mo susundin yung desisyon ng Supreme Court. Diba? Mas pupunta yun sa constitutional crisis eh. Sasabihin halimbawa ng Senate o ng House na hindi namin kayo susundin. Yun ang constitutional crisis. Pero kung halimbawa, as a political statement, i-impeach namin kayo. Ang audience namin, hindi naman ang Senate. Ang i-audience namin yung tao. Just to emphasize a point, yun, hindi pupunta sa constitutional crisis.
Hindi, because even if you carry out the impeachment process, that's the point. You followed the Constitution.
Yes.
Paano kung sabihin ng Supreme Court, you did not follow due process in your impeachment?
Ay, hindi mukhang ang objective.
Nagugulo lang ako.
Ang objective naman, hindi para matuloy eh.
What are your thoughts, Professor, on, rightly or wrongly, na politicized na issue, and a lot of people are pointing to the fact that at least nine of the justices were appointed by former President Duterte.
Nine ba?
At least 9. Hindi ko sure eh.
Alam ko
I
12
lost
eh.
track. Is it 12 now? 12 now, okay,
12.
12. So yeah, a lot of people are pointing to that and drawing the conclusion now, well, okay, they're Duterte appointees, therefore they would toe the line, right? Is that a fair assessment? What do you think?
I think we should avoid making those kinds of conclusions. It undermines yung objectivity ng Supreme Court. Parang what we're going to say is every time may issue against the Dutertes, they will win. Right? And that's just not the way the system works. And number two, it's so hard to prove it anyway.
Yeah.
Kahit totoo. Hindi, hypothetical
Matotrouble kami ba?
hypothetical lang.
Sa'yo.
No? Halimbawa, kung totoo man yun, paano mo papatunayan?
That's you, not us.
Paano mo papatunayan? Kahit totoo.
Sir, let me ask you about the second part of the decision, which is yung question of due process that was raised by the Supreme Court. Now the Supreme Court is looking for for example, a notice to the respondent, all the evidence to be given to the respondent as well, and the respondent to have the chance to answer the allegations. These were, if I recall correctly, these were never on the table in previous impeachment complaints. For example, yung impeachment ni Erap when Villar ran the impeachment complaint through the House plenary. Wala namang ganon. And it's also the House, according to the Constitution, that's given the authority to set the rules.
Yes, I agree. So, yun nga eh. The other criticism against the court is parang you're micromanaging the House. And that goes against what the provision you cited about how it is the House that has the sole authority to impeach officials. Eh ngayon, gusto nilang malaman kung nabasa niyo ba lahat yan or did every member of the House receive a copy. Di ba? Ginagawa lang kayo ng isang scenario why that's ridiculous. Kasi halimbawa, di ba pag nag-file yung member ng House, nakakuha siya ng 1/3, diretso na yan sa, di ba?
Yes,
sa Senate.
Constitutes the articles of impeachment na.
Tapos trial shall proceed forthwith, Mr. Chief. Di ba? Halimbawa, 2/3 nga yung nakuha nilang votes. Pwede mo bang inalify yung impeachment kasi sabihin nila, well, the 1/3 did not get a copy of the impeachment complaint? Diba? Let's say they did. Anong gagawin ng 1/3? I-veto nila yung 2/3? Walang sense eh. And it goes to, nabasa nyo ba yan? Mukhang hindi nyo nabasa. There wasn't enough time. And that's all wrong.
The last thing, Professor, that we were wondering about is the timing of it all. Did it strike you as unusual that the Supreme Court was issued a decision seemingly fast, at least for us, to us outsiders? It looked like it was came a little bit fast, and also it came, just before the President's SONA, and also on a week when it was storming. So the government work and classes were called off the entire week. Did anything about the timing of it all strike you as unusual?
Sabi nga ni Chief Justice Panganiban, Prof, parang ang bilis. Na-receive nila on the 19, on the 20, yung sagot ng House. Tapos isinulat yung 97 pages. Tapos dinistribute sa mga fellow justices, dineliberate at nagbotohan. Habang for 1 week ay canceled ang mga opisina. So parang nagtanong mismo yung former Chief Justice Panganiban, bakit ang bilis ng mga pangyayari? Sa inyong experience, sa ganitong mga landmark decision, ganyan ba talaga kabilis? Wala ba talagang kaunti man lang debate or pag-open sa public ng ganyang klaseng proseso?
Well, there's nothing in the Constitution that requires na i-open sa public. No? And there's also no requirement na wag masyadong mabilis. I'm just saying, in fact, I'm sure you know this, no? Sometimes it takes years for these really important constitutional questions to be resolved. Kasi gusto nila, they want to get it right, di ba? That's kaya may oral arguments many times, di ba? Sa isang kaso, it can have 5-6 days devoted to oral arguments. So, is it unusually fast? Yes. But I cannot, wala akong i-extrapolate, wala akong i-insinuate na it's just because mabilis yung pag-decide. Sabihin nila, pag mabagal kami, nagagalit kayo.
Yeah. But basically, you've been teaching constitutional law for a long time, and I guess you would know what the usual pace of the Supreme Court is when it comes to landmark decisions, right? So,
yeah. It's fast, really fast.
Pero
ang nag-extrapolate sa Ed.
Pero sir, on the other hand, the original petition was filed by Attorney Torion in mid-February, which in fact made us wonder na bakit ang tagal-tagal na hindi ginalaw ng Korte Suprema itong petition na final after kasi ng impeachment nagsampa na si Torion and Company eh.
Pero meron
I
namang
remember
court read. Meron namang
yeah.
court read. Diba?
Pero nga, it took several months before the Supreme Court started moving on it and started asking for documents and the information from both chambers eh. So ang tagal, although mabilis, parang apparently mabilis yung galaw magmula nung pumasok ang mga dokumento, pero ang tagal bago magsimula ang proseso.
Okay, but we are assuming na wala silang discussion/deliberations na all the time since February. I mean, we don't know, but they might have been discussing it.
Yeah.
Tapos they just realized na we think we need more information from the House, and that's why they sent that directive asking the House to provide more information. Diba?
There, that's also true.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll leave that there for now. We've run out of time, but thank you so much for talking to us and shedding light on this big issue. That's Professor Dan
Thank you, Prof.
Gatmaytan, constitutional law professor at UP. Salamat, sir.
Salamat, Prof.
Thanks, sir.